NBA postseason play is in conference championship mode, but here in Brooklyn and throughout the city, summer basketball season is about to tip off. And joining me is a man that has played and seen his share of summer basketball games, Eric Hicks of GameOverNYC.com. Matter of fact, I want to talk also about that square dancing video. I mean, remind me of, you remember that song, Two Buffalo Girls Go Around the Outside?
Go Around the Outside.
Hip hop and
the mix.
Square dancing mix way back then in the 80s.
Yeah, it's a little before my time, but I'll take your word for it.
You're right there with me. All right, we got to talk, before we get into summer basketball, we got to talk about what happened last night.
You talking about the draft?
Yeah, you got to talk about that. Knicks.
Well, the Knicks had an excellent opportunity to get the first or second pick in the draft, and things had to totally go wrong for them to get the fourth or fifth pick. And true to Knick form, they got the fourth pick, which, you know, really is not a terrible thing in this year's draft. But, you know, I think they could probably make something good out of it. There's a couple of guys that are going to be available. There's a guy, Moutier, that's actually playing in China. Didn't play college ball here. And he's projected to be there at the fourth pick. Carl Anthony Stein, another one that the Knicks are very interested in. So they may get who they want. They may have an opportunity to get a game changer.
There's also talk about Jackson, Phil Jackson, the fact that he wasn't there. And Isaiah is lurking in the backgrounds now, you know that, as far as he's now in charge of New York Liberty, women's, the WNBA, New York Liberty. He also has a piece of the action. Do you see Isaiah in the future?
Well, as far as Phil Jackson not being there, like, who cares?
Yeah.
The ping pong balls are the ping pong balls. He's not going to change anything from that perspective or that whole luck thing. So I don't think that really means a lot. As far as Isaiah Thomas being in position,
lurking in the dark,
that goes to show that James Dolan, this is his team, this is his toy, and he's going to do whatever he wants.
And you can say one thing about James Dolan. He is loyal.
Yeah, he's loyal.
He's loyal. Some
he's
people may say loyal. Some people may say he's loyal to a fault, but he's loyal.
Yeah, I mean, give him credit. He does what he wants to. He's not scared to spend money either, so you can't say that he's cheap.
Right. When it comes to, I want to talk about your career before we get into summer basketball. I had a person in here, Hunter Watkins. Hunter Watkins is a golf pro.
All right.
And he's not a professional golfer, but he's a golf pro. You're not a professional basketball player, but you're a basketball professional. Explain that.
Well, I think I learned at an early stage in my life in trying to decide on a career is when you find something that you love doing, you'll never work a day in your life. You know, everybody's heard that. But as a college basketball player, I knew at a very early stage that A, I wasn't going to play professional basketball, and B, I didn't really want to. The grind, the idea of having somebody constantly telling me what to do, where to be, what time to get up, what time to go to bed, what city to be in.
$20 million a year, man, that's not bad.
But see, back then they weren't paying those salaries like that. And see, here's what happens to us as a group of people. We're fooled into thinking the only way to make millions of dollars is on stage or on the court. Right. Whereas that guy that's behind the scenes supplying things for arenas, supplying things for teams, you know, doing the backstage things even in the music industry or sports as we're talking about, they're making a whole lot of money too, and they can be the boss, and they can tell people what to do.
Right, guys make the uniforms, the referees,
absolutely,
the coaches.
Man, I wanted to be the boss. I didn't want to be the guy that had a little guy running up and down the sideline yelling and screaming at me, and and it gets a little bit worse than that. It gets personal sometimes. Enough of that in college, and I saw enough of that to know that this is not what I want to do. I like the NBA money, but I didn't want to go through that grind.
And in some ways, the ball players are basically spokes on the wheel.
Well, absolutely.
To a degree.
Well, see, nowadays you can make enough money in, let's say, playing in the NBA or any professional sport to set you up and set your family up for the rest of their lives, so they may not have to go through the things that you go through. But somebody has to sacrifice. And I didn't want to do it, and I always believed. And one thing I was exposed to is that people who made a lot of money but didn't have to do that kind of grind. We don't have to be so tunnel vision in our approach. You got to be on stage or you got to be on the court to make money. There's a whole lot of other ways to be successful.
And no matter what, the football season, the basketball season's coming, you're going to ref, you're going to manage the team, these certain things are going to happen. But as a player, you're not guaranteed because you could get hurt.
Absolutely. I mean, when the game is over, and that was one of the reasons why we named the company Game Over. When the game is over, what do you have set up? Where are you going to go when the ball comes out of the air? What are you going to do? And the money aspect of it, one thing we do learn is that money's not everything. There's a whole lot of ways to be rich and a whole lot of ways to be wealthy, and it's not all about the money.
That's true. All right, let's talk about summer basketball. Summer basketball season is about to tip off. We got Dean Street. We got Game Over. We got Soul in a Hole.
Soul in the Hole, Dean Street, Game Over, over at the Brooklyn Stydome, and then going across the bridge, you got Dyckman, you got Gun Hill. Summer basketball is pure entertainment, and it's some of the greatest entertainment out there. Some refer to it as street basketball. The greatest entertainment out there, and the best thing about it is it's free. And you'll see some of the greatest players in New York City, on the New York City landscape, out there really putting it down and doing their thing, as you see in some of the highlights that we have here. I think that stuff from Soul in the Hole was showing. That was shot a few years ago. But the action is hot. The announcers are hot. The music is playing. It's a total atmosphere. Street basketball is a culture, and a big part of that culture developed right here in New York City, and has proliferated all through the city in every borough, especially right here in Brooklyn.
Also throughout the country.
Well, actually, throughout the world. I mean, street basketball, we do a thing as Game Over Company in Spain every year. And when you step off that plane and you go into these parks in Spain, you would think you're at West 4th Street. You would think you're at Dyckman, Gun Hill. They have the DJs. They have the announcer. It's almost like a formula now that has exploded across the city.
So it's a basic culture.
It's definitely a culture, man. It's hip-hop, it's hoops, it's excitement, it's everything.
Now, most of these games at Dean Street, they play basically on the weekends, or they play during the week?
Well, Dean Street is mostly on the weekends, and the high school division is a real division that gets all the attention, because you see a lot of the guys that you're going to see during the PSAL season and through the Catholic League season. You're going to see them toning their skills, getting their skills together, tuning their skills, and getting ready for their high school season. And you also see the girls out there. So sometimes it's a little difficult to find competition for girls basketball. But now when you go to a place like Dean Street or Gun Hill, Dyckman, 275 in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, Brownsville, the BRC, the Brooklyn Stydome. We got so much stuff going on at the Stydome now, it's ridiculous.
What is happening? Before we get to the Stydome, also I'm going to talk about Soul in the Hole.
Okay, sure. Soul in the Hole became a very, very
Where's
famous
Soul in the Hole located? In Bed-Stuy, right?
Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X Boulevard, in that area, Monroe. Very famous basketball playground, a legendary place where a lot of the greats have played there. They made a movie about Soul in the Hole, and they had a guy named Booger Smith, who was the star of the movie. Kenny Kings was the team. And what I heard was one of the reasons why it's no longer referred to as Soul in the Hole is because the person that produced the movie trademarked the name and now didn't allow anybody else to use it. So now it's Ray Bush Park, which Ray Bush was a legendary figure in that area. I know you know Jerry Niles.
Yeah, Jerry Niles. Oh,
Jerry
yeah,
Niles
Jerry
passed
Niles,
away.
yeah.
He and the Niles family headed up the whole movement to have Soul in the Hole renamed as Ray Bush Park. And there's still some tremendous action that takes place there. They bring in teams from all over the country.
Now, you talk about Dyckman, but we can't leave this conversation without talking about the Rucker.
The Rucker
The
is
Godfather,
the Rucker,
right?
but yeah. But let me tell you something. The Rucker is, you might say the Godfather, especially the Rucker back in the day. But watch out for the East New York Classic at Gershwin Park every summer. They now have big-time sponsorship. That's by Gershwin High School, right behind the school there. It's probably one of the hottest tournaments, if not the hottest tournament in the city right now, along with Gun Hill and Dyckman. Now you got Gershwin Park. Big-time stuff.
Also, Dumbo. You have a basketball court down there that just opened up recently, about a couple of years ago.
Beautiful facility over there at Dumbo. And
Nike, and I heard some of the sneaker companies, various other entities sponsor tournaments.
Yeah, there are companies that sponsor tournaments there over there in Dumbo. And
competition. Right.
There's no competition.
Okay.
No, but Dumbo, the facility over there is beautiful. They do some AAU things and some Elite 100 top flight things that Nike does sponsor. Excellent facility, state-of-the-art stuff over there, absolutely.
And the great thing also about summer basketball is that various players from other cities, from Philadelphia, from D.C., from Boston, will come down here and play.
Well, what happens is if you want to get that reputation, you want to be seen, you want to go against the best, it's still, and when we talk about the mecca of basketball, it's not necessarily the Knicks and the Nets. Could be, and hopefully it will be again in the future.
Okay.
But it's what takes
You say
place
so.
on those streets in New York City. You want to go to Rucker. You want to go to Dyckman. You want to go to East New York, the East New York Classic. You want to play in these places because this is where it's really. You want to come to the Stydome. I mean, the stuff that's going on in the Stydome. We have an exposure camp going on there.
And what is your exposure camp? Explain it. Is that about when European basketball scouts come to your gym to scout certain players?
Well, absolutely. What we're doing is on June 2nd, there's going to be an exposure event. If you think that you are talented enough to earn a paycheck, they're paying some big money overseas. So we have several scouts and several coaches coming into the Dome to watch the exposure exhibition that we're putting on, where these guys will come in and they'll play for 3-4 hours and go out there and do their thing, and they may get jobs. They're definitely selecting a group of players to go over to Italy, this is for sure, to go over to Italy and compete, and they will get job offers there if they do what they need to do.
What about China? Is China anywhere in the map?
China's probably,
especially when it comes to this exposure camp.
China pays the most money. I mean, but China is bringing in ex-NBA players and guys that are NBA quality. So China's part of it also, but this is a European thing that we're doing over at the Dome.
All right. And
Go ahead, I'm sorry. I was going to say, along with 7 weeks of summer basketball camp, for the kids, we do our Saturday clinic, and then we do 7 weeks of summer basketball camp, where not only do we train basketball, but getting back to the business of basketball, we've never been about selling hoop dreams. It's always been about developing well-rounded kids. Basketball is the tool to teach a whole lot of things to become successful.
And what about as far as game management? Do you teach the clock, how to manage the clock, how to keep score, those various other jobs that involve basketball?
Well, we bring in guest speakers, and I always try to bring in people from behind the scenes. I always tell, not only what else is out there, I tell my story, but we also try to bring in other people and let them know that this game of basketball can take you far beyond just what takes place on the court, and it can last forever. As long it goes much further than what you can do on the court. You can take this game and you can go for an entire career in basketball. But there are certain things that you have to learn: perseverance,
adversity.
Yeah, being courteous. I mean, a thing like when you meet somebody, shake their hand, and really, really be a well-rounded individual. It can't be just about basketball.
Skills. One other thing, your camp is opening up, what, June the 2nd? Or?
No, the exposure camp is June the 2nd. We are the second week in July for our youth camp, youth summer basketball camp, cool. At the Brooklyn Style.
If they want to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you?
GameOverNYC.com.
All right, thanks, Eric.
All right, sir.